At 8 o'clock, our big headline tonight are the fiery protests on the new army recruitment scheme Agnipath across at least 5 states. What's causing them? How is the government firefighting this narrative? Here are our top headlines tonight. Good evening. At 8 o'clock, fiery protests across states over the new army recruitment scheme Agnipath. Trains are stopped and there's arson across Bihar. A BJP MLA is attacked. A local BJP office burnt in Bihar. There's also stone pelting in Haryana as police open fire. The government says that there will be priority in paramilitary and state police recruitment for the Agniveers. They say a false narrative is being spread. The youth are being misled. But allies Nitish Kumar and Amrinder Singh as well as the opposition urge a rethink. Stop illegal demolitions. The Supreme Court to the Uttar Pradesh government. Demolitions cannot be a retaliatory measure, must be in accordance to the law. Congress leader Renuka Chaudhary grabs a policeman's collar. A case filed against her. Renuka Chaudhary replies saying the cops were pushing me, so I fell on him. This as the Congress protests across India against the ED and police action. Meanwhile, with his mother in hospital, Rahul Gandhi asked for a postponement of tomorrow's questioning, asked for Monday instead. The US Fed rate hike hits global and Indian markets. The Indian markets close at their lowest level this year after America, the United Kingdom also hikes interest rates again today. India's daily COVID cases now crossed 10,000, the first time since February. Maharashtra and Kerala are driving the COVID surge. Four heads of European countries traveled to Ukraine to meet Ukrainian President Zelensky in Kyiv, a powerful message of solidarity from European countries as Germany invites Zelensky to the G7 summit. Remember, Russia is suspended from here. Heaviest rain in decades in India's wettest area, Cherrapunji. Guwahati in Assam gets 121% more rain than normal. A red alert for Assam and Meghalaya tomorrow as well. And an ATM in Nagpur which just doesn't stop. Our lead story tonight, fiery protests erupted across states, mainly Bihar and also in Punjab and Haryana, parts of Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, as thousands of young aspirants for the army are out burning train tracks. There's been arson, a BJP office has been attacked in Bihar, a BJP MLA attacked, a district commissioner's office in Haryana, with stone pelting there, police firing shots at them, all because these recruits say that they are losing out of the government's new army recruitment scheme Agnipath. Their biggest concern, what happens to them after their 4-year tenure ends, and also an age limit, which means that those who waited the last 2 years because there were no army recruitments are now not eligible to apply for this Agnipath scheme. Today, politicians, two key BJP allies, one Nitish Kumar in Bihar, his party, the party president tweeted saying the government must rethink this as protests erupted across Bihar. Also, Punjab ally Amrinder Singh, himself an army veteran, said this radical scheme should be reconsidered. The opposition also came together today to attack the government on this scheme. The BJP maintains a false narrative is being spread and is putting out fact sheets to say this will actually radically reform the armed forces.
Armed forces aspirants on the warpath over Agnipath. The government's new recruitment plan for the armed forces. Most controversial is the fact that the majority of the 46,000 soldiers recruited will only have a 4-year tenure, get no pension, and the maximum age limit is 21 years old. Bihar, UP, Haryana and parts of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh saw huge protests against the government's new scheme. The anger fueled by the fact that recruitment camps to the armed forces have been stalled for the last 2 years.
एक नया रूल आया है टीओडी के तहत सरकार ने मात्र 4 साल के लिए भर्ती प्रक्रिया चालू करना चाहती है, जिससे हम लोगों का उम्र आज बर्बाद हो चुका है।
ये आपको निर्णय वापस लेना होगा। अगर हम लोग पावर है, सरकार आपको बना भी सकते हैं और सरकार बिगा भी सकते हैं।
The worst violence was in Bihar, where protesters indulged in arson, stopped trains and pelted stones, damaging buses and engaging in pitched battles with the police. In Bihar's Nawada, protesters attacked BJP MLA Aruna Devi and also torched the local BJP office. Protests erupted in Haryana's Rewari, Palwal and Gurugram. Police had to open fire to disperse the protesters in Palwal district when stone pelting happened near the Deputy Commissioner's office. In Rewari, lathi charges by the police against crowds of young men. Rewari district is at the forefront in Haryana in terms of sending youngsters to the armed forces. The internet has been suspended in Palwal. The government has tried to address protesters' concerns, stating that it will ensure priority recruitment for Agniveers into paramilitary forces, Agniveers to get priority in state police forces, credits for Agniveers in degree program, 50% credits to come from Agnipath entry. Students need to choose remaining courses, Ministry of Education to enter MOU with armed forces. BJP chief ministers including Yogi Adityanath, Shivraj Singh Chauhan and ML Khattar have said that Agniveers will get priority in state recruitment. But along with the aspirants, political criticism has also become louder. The tense situation prompted the BJP's ally JDU to ask the government to reconsider its decision as opposition politicians from Rahul Gandhi to Arvind Kejriwal and Tejasvi Yadav hit out at the new plan.
भारत सरकार के को इस पर लोगों से राय लेनी चाहिए, लोगों के साथ बैठ के बात करनी चाहिए।
अपील करेंगे छात्रों से शांति बनाए रखें।
हम लोग इस पर कोई कमेंट नहीं करेंगे, क्योंकि भारत सरकार का मामला, हम लोग भी भारत सरकार से मांग कर रहे हैं कि जब विरोध हो रहा है तो उनके यूनियन वगैरह के साथ जो ग्रुप है उनके साथ बैठ करके लोग बात करें।
The Agnipath scheme is controversial, carries multiple risks, subverts the long-standing traditions and ethos of the armed forces, and there is no guarantee that the soldiers recruited under the scheme will be better trained and motivated to defend the country.
अपनी आर्म फोर्सेस को इसमें भले ही सेविंग ओवर की बात छोड़िए, और अधिक जितनी खर्च करने की आवश्यकता होगी, हमारी गवर्नमेंट खर्च करने को तैयार है। हमारा लक्ष्य यही है कि देश की सीमाओं की सुरक्षा होनी चाहिए, देश हमारा पूरी तरह से सुरक्षित रहना चाहिए। खर्च जितना भी करना पड़ेगा तब खर्च करेंगे, खर्च का तो प्रश्न ही नहीं खड़ा होता।
Last year, the government had withdrawn the farm laws after a year-long protest by farmers largely from Uttar Pradesh, Haryana and Punjab. Now protests over the Agniveer scheme has erupted in more states. NDTV Bureau Report.
What will happen in the next few days? Will there be a reconsideration? The government says it's convinced a false narrative is being spread. The opposition says it will take on the government over this. Meanwhile, strong words from the Supreme Court today against the Uttar Pradesh government, saying that illegal demolitions must be stopped, that demolitions cannot be a retaliatory measure, and that all demolitions must be done in accordance to the law.
A stern warning to the Adityanath government by the Supreme Court. Demolitions can only happen in accordance with the law and not as a retaliatory measure. The top court's observations came on a petition by the Muslim organization Jamiyat Ulema-e-Hind that asked the court to act against officials responsible for what they called the illegal demolition of houses of those accused of inciting violent protests against controversial comments on Prophet Muhammad by two ex-BJP leaders. The Supreme Court observed, everything should look fair. We expect the authorities to act only in accordance with the law.
In court, lawyers for the petitioner called the demolitions shocking and appalling, alleging that the notices were served just before the houses were razed and no time was given to respond. The UP government, however, asserted that it had followed the law.
In court, C.U. Singh, a lawyer for the petitioners, said, adequate notices are a must. What is being done is unconstitutional and shocking. It is being done by targeting a community. In response, Harish Salve, appearing for the UP government, said the due course of law is followed for demolitions. The media links the demolitions with political statements unnecessarily. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta argued, if the house has been constructed without following any laws at all, then they can't say that they should not even be touched. Justice A.S. Bopanna, one of the two SC judges hearing the case, said, the UP government will get time for their objections. We should ensure the safety of the affected parties in the meantime. Let's be clear, they are also part of society. Ultimately, when someone has a grievance, they have a right to have it addressed, said Justice Bopanna.
There are hundreds and thousands of houses in any city which may be unauthorized, but you don't target them. You just target those people whose name you have put in FIR, and without undertaking those legal process, overnight the bulldozer is placed under the house and the house is demolished.
On the ground in Prayagraj, the Supreme Court hearing brought some hope for the family and lawyers of politician Javed Mohammed, who the police allege is the mastermind behind last Friday's violence in the city and whose bungalow was razed by bulldozers on Sunday.
सबसे बड़ी बात यह कि वो घर उनका था नहीं जिसको आपने गिरा दिया, वो उनकी पत्नी के नाम से था, पत्नी को पिता ने उनके दिया था, आपने उस घर गिरा के पत्नी और उनके बच्चे और उनको बहुओं को आप सड़क पे ला दिया.
The case will be heard again in the Supreme Court on Tuesday. For the Prayagraj administration, the immediate priority are the Friday prayers tomorrow, for which there will be very tight security not only in this city but in other locations across Uttar Pradesh. With Sukirti Dwivedi, Rajesh Gupta and Nitin Gupta, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
And today, across the country, the Congress intensified protests against the Enforcement Directorate and what they said was the illegal action by the Delhi police yesterday against its workers and coming into their party headquarters. So the protest there, as Rahul Gandhi has asked for more time with his mother in hospital. Both Rahul and Priyanka were with her today. He's asked for more time before he appears before the ED tomorrow and has asked if he can appear on Monday instead. But let's just look now at the pictures that are dominating the headlines. So these pictures really coming of Congress leader Renuka Chaudhary there in Hyderabad, pulling a policeman by his collar. So you can see her there grabbing as she's arguing with the cops and then pulling this policeman by his collar and then being taken away into a police van. Now a case has been has been filed against her, and Renuka Chaudhary joins me now. Ms. Chaudhary, thanks very much for being on the news. How do you justify actually grabbing that policeman's collar like that? Why would you, a senior politician, do that to a person in uniform?
Ask the policeman, why are there men standing in front of me? Why are men police surrounding me? Why? Please see where my left hand is. Please notice on this picture where my left hand is. It was grabbed and twisted by the police behind my back, which is when I lunged forward because I was going to fall. I reached for the man's shoulder and instead I had to catch his collar to steady myself, even as I was shouting against them. Telangana police are famous for these sort of things. There are hundreds of cases where the TRS miscreants, whether it is the MLA's relatives, there's a minister in Khammam district called Puvada Ajay,
yes,
against whom a man killed himself in the local police station drinking poison, a BJP worker.
But ma'am, I'm just going to show you the
nothing has happened to them. Nothing has happened.
I'm just going to show you the picture from the beginning, and so you can see that video of you actually. There's a woman police person who's actually caught hold of you and is dragging you.
Me. It's not caught hold of me. She's pushed me. She's twisted my arm. Please notice.
And then you catch hold of this policeman against, and the Hyderabad police have now filed a case against you. And they say that you've stopped them.
I'm also going to file cases against them. I'm going to move court. There are so many cases with evidence. Why haven't they taken action against those people who have died, who have killed themselves, who videoed that they're going to die because of these reasons?
But the charge against you is that you stopped a policeman from doing his duty.
What was his duty? To attack a senior citizen. That was his duty.
The duty being presumed...
That poor chap was not doing anything. I don't know who he is.
But the duty, ma'am, is to stop protests, public protests on roads.
Please see my left arm. I'm losing my balance, so notice my left arm.
So you're saying that you only grabbed him for his balance. You're not actually grabbing and arguing with him, because you can also be seen there giving him a verbal tongue lashing. So you're saying that this doesn't seem like somebody who was just following.
I was not yelling at him. I don't know who this young man is. But behind him, there were police and I was shouting at them. There's no doubt about it.
Are you worried that you may be arrested now?
I'm not scared. I'm not worried because the police have collapsed in Telangana. There is no law and order. Between 28th of this month and to date, there are some 11 rapes which have happened to minor girls. There are murders. There are people who've killed themselves on video and said we are dying because this Minister Puwada Ajay has filed cases against me and harassed me. Not even an SI has been suspended. There is an MLA called Vanama Venkateshwara Rao. I'm naming them.
No, I'm not here
in Kottagudem district.
Ma'am, I'm sure every
there
state police, there are many areas where I'm sure any state police can be pulled up for not doing their job. There'll be many cases, but that doesn't mean, again, as I said, that the senior politician should pull this man or this policeman.
I'm not pulling him. You please notice how much I'm gripping his collar and notice that my left arm is being twisted. You expect someone of my age and my size to keep my balance? Just see. Look at the angle my arm is being twisted.
Yes. So would you
I'm looking steady on my feet. Is it? Wow, I must be a Wonder Woman then.
No, but so then why didn't you just say that you were wrong in pulling his collar? What's wrong with saying that?
I've said that. I've said it to many media. I did not intend to pull his collar.
Okay.
I have no hesitation in talking to the young man and telling him. He knows that I don't know him. And I don't know him. He doesn't know me. But I do object to police doing a cut and paste job and sending these. And there's a video before that where I'm actually addressing the media. And they suddenly come unprovoked and attack me.
It's interesting also, ma'am, to see the fact that the Congress has suddenly come out. It's after a long time that we're seeing street protests on this scale by the Congress because of the enforcement directed action against Rahul Gandhi and the police action in Delhi. Is it?
There are two issues that
is it a fact that, as I said, the opposition, the BJP is arguing that why is it that they've come? Are you defending corruption? Is that why shouldn't Rahul Gandhi be questioned? Is what the BJP is asking? Why are the street protests over this?
Let me tell you one thing. Let's remind the country and all of you. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was one of the architects of this great country. And he was the first Prime Minister. He was a visionary who had actually set up scientific institutions because of which India is proud today. And Indira Gandhi went on to prove to the world that she was an outstanding leader. Then you had Rajiv Gandhi. She was shot in her house. And then Rajiv Gandhi died in the middle of such streets. So I don't think Mr. Rahul Gandhi, whose gene pool is this, is going to be worried about an ED questionnaire. It's not true.
Right.
Let's get that real. Now the second issue is, why is there so much eruption? And this is a flashpoint. Citizens of this country are fed up. Our rupee has no value. The youth who are educated have no jobs.
Right.
Essential commodities prices are going through the sky. There is no employment.
Okay.
There is no petrol, diesel.
So it's not about just the questioning. You're saying it's about larger issues.
It's a flashpoint. We've all come out onto the streets to say, where are we going? And now you have the international community pointing a finger at India because of these people who have no experience on how to run a government.
I'm sorry, but we're
and
out
have
of
no
time right
understanding
now.
of what
But
secular
thanks for
India
giving
is.
your point of view. As I said, those pictures, shocking pictures, you say that you're sorry for it. You didn't mean it intentionally. Let's see what happens with the police. Thanks so much for joining us tonight with your side of the story. But let's go across the other big headline, which is, of course, the US Fed rate hike and what happened today globally and in India as Indian stock markets erased all their gains and actually closed at their lowest ever this year.
The Bank of England has raised UK interest rates to a 13-year high at 1.25%. This is the fifth straight rate hike to battle rising inflation. The US Fed also raised its benchmark interest rate by 0.75 of a percentage point, its biggest interest rate hike in nearly 3 decades, to battle surging inflation that is at a 4-decade high.
I will begin with one overarching message. We at the Fed understand the hardship that high inflation is causing. We're strongly committed to bringing inflation back down, and we're moving expeditiously to do so. We have both the tools we need and the resolve that it will take to restore price stability on behalf of American families and businesses.
Experts believe what is worrying is the projection of a slowing US economy and rising unemployment in months to come. This, of course, has led to a meltdown in Indian markets as well, with both the Sensex and the Nifty tumbling over 2%, The Sensex plunged 1,045 points and ended at 51,495, and the Nifty fell 331 points to close at 15,360, the lowest close for the benchmark indices in over an year. Senior financial analyst Sanchita Mukherjee believes the medium to long-term growth story in India is intact due to structural growth drivers. However, short-term volatility, uncertainty and ambiguity in the capital markets shall remain. So how does this significant Fed rate hike impact you and me in India in the near term? When the US Fed raises policy rates, India looks less attractive in terms of rates, and lower growth projections in the US also spell negative news for global growth. However, in the long run, with predictions of a bleak US economy, the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war and volatile commodity prices, could India be resistant to global shocks? That really is the big question. Sakshi Bajaj for NDTV.
And India's daily COVID cases have crossed 10,000 for the first time since late February. We added 12,213 fresh COVID cases in the last 24 hours. That's a 38.4% jump from the cases yesterday. So which are the states that's driving this surge? Well, Maharashtra is topping the list with 4,024, followed by Kerala at nearly 3,500, then Delhi, Karnataka and Haryana. And the big concern, of course, remains hospitalizations and deaths. And luckily, those are still low, but we need to be tracking the cases which are rising rapidly. And every day we see fresh evidence of the climate crisis. So Assam and Meghalaya are facing the heaviest rain in decades. And in fact, it's in Cherrapunji, the rain is the highest since the 1990s. Guwahati also has got 121% more rain than normal, with a red alert for Assam and Meghalaya tomorrow.
Parts of the National Highway 6 in Meghalaya's East Jaintia Hills caved in due to landslides triggered by incessant rains trapping several vehicles. The landslide has partially cut Tripura, Mizoram, southern Assam and parts of Meghalaya from the rest of the country. Across Meghalaya, flash floods, heavy rains have been reported. Cherrapunji got 811.6 millimeters of rainfall in 24 hours ending on Wednesday, the highest in June since 1995. And India's wettest place, Masinram, received 710.6 millimeters rainfall. Government says coming 2 days are crucial.
I had taken a review meeting on video conferencing with all the respective deputy commissioners and officials from the different districts, as well as honorable ministers had joined. And post the meeting, we have decided to form 4 regional committees, and also specifically to ensure that the safety and security of the citizens of our state, and also to ensure that the other movement of essential commodities are done in a smooth manner.
In neighbouring Assam, many parts of lower Assam have witnessed flash floods from Thursday. Tamulpur, Nalbari, Bajai have been badly hit. 2 siblings, miners, were today buried alive in a landslide in Assam's Golpara town after heavy rains triggered a landslide in the area. Their dead bodies have been recovered from the debris. The side walls of their house collapsed due to the landslide. 6 people have died in Assam alone in past 3 days in landslides. This year, already 44 people have died in the state due to floods and landslides.
3:30 बजे ये इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बोर्ड को खबर दिया हूँ, लेकिन अभी तक कोई नहीं आया। ये दुर्घटना हुआ बारिश का वजह से, ज़मीन नीचे गिर गया, कॉलगस भी है और 2 लाइट का पोस्ट भी गिर गया। लेकिन हमारा पब्लिक मिल के थोड़ा रास्ता क्लियर किया, साफ किया, लेकिन जो लाइट का पोस्ट है ये हम लोग उठा नहीं सकता हूँ।
With the rain warning till this weekend, Assam might be bracing for yet another wave of floods. With Ratnadeep Chaudhary, Usama Shah for NDTV.
A quick look at international news. A powerful message of solidarity in Ukraine from European leaders as 4 heads of state of Germany, France, Italy and Romania visited the Ukrainian President Zelensky in the Ukrainian capital Kyiv. He's also been invited to attend the G7 summit being hosted by Germany. So an important message of solidarity, but this comes as Russia is advancing in Ukraine. So there is yet no military help at all to Ukraine. As of now, it's just humanitarian aid. And as we end tonight, well, in Nagpur, an ATM which just didn't stop giving money, but it was too good to last.